they lose to distraction. Hours disappear. That repeated decision builds the life of discipline you want. It is not easy, but it is possible. And every time you use pressure to defeat comfort, you prove to yourself that you are capable of far more than you think. Chapter 7. Build mental toughness by choosing effort over relief. Mental toughness is the ability to keep moving forward when every part of you wants to stop. The disciplined life belongs to those who train themselves to choose effort consistently, even when the relief looks more inviting. You must understand that effort feels heavy, resistance feels unbearable, when you would rather escape. That is the exact moment where you can either quit or push through. If you quit,
All right, good morning, y'all.
yourself, then relief is more important than progress. If you push yourself to complete your work, effort multiplies. These choices shape your identity. Relief
All right, we're
when
about
you
to have
feel
the
drained,
equity
they
open.
reach for food when they are stressed. Instead of addressing the real issue,
Um,
they check their
at the
phone.
moment, it's a
Instead of
continuation
the hard task, they
going
stop
on right
short of
now.
finishing what they
I don't know if
started.
Price wants to use the
It is
915
uncomfortable.
to keep crashing,
Each of those
or
moments feels
if we're
small,
gonna get
but they
Price
accumulate
retrace
into
into the
patterns that
30
matter.
minutes on
Even
fair
the
value
most
gap at the high.
weakness all builds
Um,
toughness. The mind adapts to whichever one you feed. Choosing
if you
effort
sell here, it's gonna
means
be
you
about
refuse to run from discomfort. You accept that growth requires pain.
I'm gonna
You
try to
accept
sell
that
here first
strength requires
at
sacrifice.
915 if we do a
You
retracement
accept that progress
at
will never feel easy. But here is the truth.
because this equal lows is
Success
my
with
target at
effort
the
is
moment.
temporary, while the weakness that comes from chasing relief lasts much longer. When you push yourself to complete the work, the pain fades
If we
and
can
the
retrace
relief
into the
returns.
915,
When you give in to
okay.
relief, the
The price
comfort
just wants to
fades
crash first.
and the regret remains. Mental toughness is about training yourself to live for the long reward, not the short escape. Discipline requires you to recognize the tricks of relief. Relief
All right.
always
So
presents
the
a
first thing we did
conditional
is run
offer.
out the lows.
It says
Interesting.
you deserve it. It says you will only rest for a short time. It says the problem can
That
wait,
means we
but
could
once
get
you accept it, relief multiplies. A short break turns into hours wasted. A skipped day turns into weeks of neglect. The danger is not in the single choice, it is in the pattern that follows. Every time you allow relief to control you, you weaken your ability to choose effort next
Order
time. That
filled.
is why you must be ruthless in rejecting false relief. Building mental toughness begins with small acts of effort. You do not need to start with the hardest challenge. Start with something simple, like finishing your workout without cutting it short, completing your task before checking your phone, or staying focused for a set amount of time without distraction. Each of these small victories strengthens your
I'm
tolerance
going
for
break even
effort.
right
They
there.
send the message to your mind that you can endure
And if it knocks me
discomfort.
out for break even,
The
I'll wait
more
for the
you
first
stay
5 minute
focused,
candle to
the
close.
stronger your toughness becomes. As you grow stronger, you can begin to deliberately seek effort. Choose to walk instead of taking the elevator. Choose to stay with the problem instead
Because
of
we've run
running
out the
when it
equal
gets
lows now,
hard.
we can
Choose to
have price
finish
go for
what
the
you
high of the day.
started, even when you want to leave it incomplete. Each of these choices builds your resilience. Mental toughness is not a gift you are born with. It is a habit you create by consistently choosing effort over relief. Another essential part of toughness is self-respect. When you choose effort, you prove to
Because the
yourself that
915 is
you can
still
be
there.
trusted to finish.
It's
That
not.
trust builds
Order filled.
Before results appear, you may work for weeks or months before seeing significant change. This is where many people quit. They cannot handle the gap between effort and reward. But the disciplined person accepts that patience is part of the process. They understand that every day of effort is a brick in the foundation. They trust
We've got all these highs now in the market.
if they keep stacking those bricks. That trust is what allows them to keep choosing effort even when relief is calling loudly. One practical way to build toughness is to set rules for yourself that you do not break. For example, you decide that you will not go to sleep until you complete your daily target. You decide
This is a shallow run below London lows. I don't know if that's
these rules
going to be all for the day.
when
We
relief
now have
hits you, the rules remind you of the standard you live
the
by. Strict personal rules create the kind of pressure that keeps you aligned with effort.
yeah, right. We
Without
just had one
them,
break even
it is
trade.
too easy to drift into excuses.
I'm looking
You
to
must
see if
also remember that
actually
effort
we've
feels
created
different
equal
once
highs
you
now
get
with pre-New
started.
York highs
The
kind of.
hardest part is the beginning. The first few minutes of pushing yourself always feel heavier than the rest. That is where most people surrender. But if you
If
force
we close
yourself
bullish like
past
this,
that beginning,
I'll be
your
looking
body
to
and
enter at the
mind
midpoint
adjust, and the effort becomes manageable. The key is to push through that initial
of the 5 minute
resistance
candle. How
without
many?
giving in to relief. If you do that repeatedly, your toughness grows naturally. Discipline also grows when you stop seeing effort as punishment and start seeing it as training. Effort is not a punishment for weakness. It is the path to strength. Every difficult task is a workout for your mind. Every uncomfortable moment is practice for resilience. When you adopt this perspective, you no longer resent effort. You embrace it as the tool that makes you unshakable. That mindset shift is critical. People who see effort as punishment run from it. People who see effort as training welcome it. Relief may feel good for a moment, but it cannot build character. Character is built only in effort. When you are tired but keep going, you grow. When you are afraid
Alright, we have our first 5 minute now.
you grow. When you want to quit but stay until it is finished, you grow. These moments define toughness. They separate the disciplined from the undisciplined, the achievers from the average, and every person has access to them. The difference is whether you choose effort or relief. To build toughness, you must also expose yourself to challenges intentionally. Do not always wait for difficulty to arrive on its own. Create it. Wake up earlier than you want. Push yourself to work longer on your craft. Hold yourself to higher standards when nobody is watching. Voluntarily choosing effort makes you stronger. So when life forces effort on you, you are already prepared. The more you train
So I've run up the highs now, so
the less likely you are to break when real pressure comes. Eventually, you will realize
we have to wait for a bit more now to enter the trade.
relief feels empty because it creates nothing. It is fleeting, but effort is results. Effort builds skills. Effort creates
If
confidence.
price closes below the midpoint,
Leaves a legacy. When you look back, you will not be
I might
proud
look
of
to
the
short,
times you escaped
but
into comfort. You
I
will
don't
be
like these
proud of
equal
the
highs
times
we're
you
creating
chose
right now.
effort and proved to yourself that you were stronger than you thought. That pride will stay with you far longer than any temporary relief. From today forward, begin to notice your daily choices.
Let's see how this candle closes.
Pulls you toward relief.
I might set the stage for the rest of the day.
Which decision will make me stronger? Which choice will make me proud later? Which path builds my discipline? The answer will almost always be effort. Then make the decision quickly. Do not give relief time to argue. Take the harder road and remind yourself that this is how
We have
toughness
news
is
today.
built. Over weeks and months, you will notice the change.
I'll go and chat.
That once felt overwhelming will feel easier. Challenges that once broke you will feel manageable. You will begin to carry yourself with quiet confidence, knowing that you can rely on.
Okay, we have news in 22 minutes.
That transformation will not come from reading or wishing.
High impact news as well.
From repeatedly choosing effort when relief was calling. This is the law of mental toughness. Every time you choose
Finviz,
for relief, you grow stronger. Every time you choose relief,
it's looking down at the moment, but
grow weaker.
there isn't a lot of information.
And when you
traded to the first quadrant of the new day opening gap, but is that going to be enough? Okay, nice that.
On you over time. When you remind yourself of that truth, you begin to see impulses for what they are. Short-term thieves that rob you of long-term strength. Discipline is about training your mind to look beyond the present moment. Anyone can choose what feels good now, but the disciplined person chooses based on the impact tomorrow. This ability is what separates growth from stagnation. If you always chase impulses, you will live in cycles of starting and stopping, motivated one day and defeated the next. But if you fight impulses with the reminder of long-term pain, you begin to break the cycle. You gain control over yourself. One of the strongest tools you can use is visualization. When the impulse comes, do not just think about the comfort it offers.
I need us to run out this 930 high.
Picture how you will feel if
Sorry, 925 high, sorry.
looking in the mirror and seeing no
96.
progress because you skipped again. Imagine the stress of unfinished work piling up because you delayed again. Imagine the opportunities lost because you quit again. Let those images become clear. That emotional reminder of pain will cut through the false pleasure of the impulse. You must also remind yourself that impulses are temporary. They feel strong in the moment, but they pass quickly if you resist.
That's ridiculous.
The problem is that most people never learn to wait them out. They feel the urge and immediately obey it. But if you pause, if you remind yourself of the long-term pain and hold the line, the impulse weakens. Each time you resist, you gain more strength. Each time you fight back, you build more confidence. And with practice, impulses lose their power over you. Fighting impulses is also about building awareness. You must learn to notice the situations that trigger them. Maybe it's when you are tired. Maybe it's when
I don't know if
you are
my
stressed.
stop loss
Maybe
placement is
it's
not the
when you are
best.
bored. If you do not identify these triggers, you will
My
always
stop loss
fall
placement
into
is
the
not
same
really the
trap.
best right now.
Once you know them, you can prepare. You can decide in advance how you will respond. When the urge appears, you will not be surprised. You will already have the weapon of long-term vision ready. It is also helpful to replace the impulse with a stronger action.
Let's see.
If you feel the urge to skip work, start with a small piece of it immediately. If you feel the urge to eat,
If price is going to be
drink a glass
bearish,
of water first.
it shouldn't be. I'm sorry, bullish. It shouldn't close below the midpoints again.
Take a short walk instead.
I just don't know if price is going to
Replace the
come wick
impulse
me
by
out
redirecting the energy.
first
Over
before
time,
going
your
to the
brain
top side.
learns
But
that when the urge arrives, you do not obey it.
all these highs
You transform it into something useful.
should get ran
The
today.
cost of living by impulses is heavy. It may not destroy you in one day, but it chips away at your strength over time. One skipped workout is not the problem, But repeated impulses create a body you no longer respect. One delayed task is not the issue, but repeated impulses create a life full of missed opportunities. Every person who lives with regret today was once someone who gave in to impulses yesterday. That is the reality you must remind yourself of when the urge appears. If you want a disciplined life, you must accept that impulses will never disappear completely. They will always come. The goal is not to eliminate them, but to control them. You win by creating a gap between the urge and the action. By pausing long enough to remind yourself of the pain you are avoiding. That pause is where your power lies. That pause is where you decide whether to live in regret or in discipline. Mental strength grows each time you hold that line. At first, the fight feels exhausting, but the more you practice, the easier
Why?
it
Nah,
becomes.
come on.
Soon, fighting impulses is not about struggling every time, it is about recognizing
I
your
feel like they're
strength
gonna
and
run out this
respecting it
low, even if they
quickly.
want to push though.
You gain a sense of mastery over yourself. You begin to feel proud not just of what you achieve, but of
Order
what you no
filled.
longer surrender to.
I'm gonna
That
close early
pride
right there,
becomes
so you
fuel
don't.
for even greater discipline.
What's going on,
Another
man?
strategy is to shift your perspective of
Bro,
pain.
market is moving weird,
Most
man.
people run from pain, but discipline is about learning to face it. The pain of effort is temporary. The pain of regret is permanent. When you feel an impulse, ask yourself which pain you are choosing. If you act on the impulse, you are choosing the longer pain. If you resist and face the discomfort now, you are choosing the shorter pain. Discipline is about consistently choosing the pain that serves you, not the one that destroys you. It also helps to remind yourself of the kind of life
That's
you want
crazy
to
that I
live.
didn't even run out this
Do
high.
you want to be someone who obeys every urge,
Wow.
or someone who controls them? Do you want to look back on your life with pride or with regret? Your impulses will never think about that. They only care about now. But you must care about later. You must live with the bigger picture in mind. That vision is what allows you to resist the temptation of relief in the moment. Over time, your ability to fight impulses becomes one of your greatest strengths. You begin to trust yourself completely. You know that when the urge comes, you will not be a slave to it. You will recognize it, remind yourself of the pain it brings, and make the stronger
That was a
choice.
small
That
loss,
trust
so
gives you freedom. It gives you the ability to focus fully on what matters, because you are no longer controlled by urges. Discipline is the art of making decisions based on long-term vision, rather than short-term desire. Impulses will always try to blind you to that vision. They will try to drag you back into immediate comfort. But when you fight them with the reminder
this
of
is already a
long-term
weird
pain,
day because
you take away their
you can
power.
already tell something
You
is happening
create
on the
space
low here.
between what you feel and what you choose.
How do you come
That
create
space
equal
is where
highs here?
discipline lives. From this moment on, commit to never acting blindly on impulses. When the urge appears, pause. When the temptation calls, think of the pain it creates tomorrow. Let that thought be heavier than the comfort of now. Then act according to your higher standard, not your lower desire. Each time you do this, you strengthen your discipline. Each time you win, you prove that your future matters more than your impulses. The disciplined life is not built by perfect conditions or endless motivation. It is built by winning the battles of impulse every day. It is built by choosing effort over regret, vision over comfort, discipline over weakness. And it begins with one powerful skill: the ability to fight impulses by remembering the long-term pain they create. That reminder is the shield that protects you from regret and the tool that builds your strongest self. Chapter 9. Direct your energy only toward tasks that truly matter. Every person wakes up each day with a limited supply of energy. That energy can be directed toward building a meaningful life, or wasted on distractions that lead nowhere. Discipline is not just about forcing yourself to act. It is about making sure your actions are directed toward the tasks that truly matter. Without this focus, you can work hard all day and still feel empty because your energy went to things that made no real difference. A disciplined life is not measured only by activity, it is measured by progress in the areas that shape your future. The reason so many people feel drained yet unfulfilled is because they scatter
I'm
their
liking
energy
this
across too
Nasdaq, you
many
know.
things. They spend hours reacting to messages, scrolling through endless content, worrying about opinions that don't move their life forward, or chasing trivial tasks that make them feel busy but not productive. At the end of the day, they are exhausted, yet nothing important has been built. That is the trap of undirected energy. When you live this way long enough, you begin to believe that effort itself is enough, but effort without focus is wasted effort. The discipline that changes your life comes from saying no to the unimportant and yes only to the essential. The first step to directing your energy wisely is clarity. You must know
See
what
that
truly
US
matters
30,
to
yeah.
you. Without clarity, you will be
I
pulled
don't
in
even know
every
what you're
direction
on,
by
bro.
demands, temptations, and distractions. Ask yourself, what are the few things in my life that create the biggest results? What actions move me
I might
forward
just
to
wait for
health,
news for this
growth,
fucking.
stability, or freedom? These answers will not be the same for everyone, but every person must define them. Once you are clear, the discipline is to align your energy only with those priorities. It is easy to get caught in the noise of daily life. Every notification, every invitation, every request from others pulls at your attention. If you do not protect your focus, the world will decide for you where your energy goes, and the world will rarely direct you toward your highest priorities. That is why you must be deliberate. You not simply hope your energy will go to the right places. You must decide in advance. You must protect your focus like it is your most valuable
See
resource,
Nasdaq,
because it
the
is
way it's
one
come
of the
off this
strongest
50%
strategies
is
to identify your top 3
it's making me
tasks
think it wants
each
to
day.
keep going up as well.
The tasks that truly matter, and commit to completing them before anything else. These are not errands or busy work. These are the actions that align with your long-term goal. When you give your energy to them first, you ensure that no matter what else happens, your day produces progress in what counts. Too many people fill their mornings with small distractions and then wonder why they have no energy left for the work that matters. Discipline means flipping that pattern, doing the important first and leaving the trivial for later, if at all. Another
If I
way to
sell this
direct your
and market
energy
takes
is
me
by
out, I'm gonna
creating
be
boundaries.
pissed.
Discipline is not just about what you do, but about what you refuse to do. Every time you say yes to something meaningless, you are saying no to something meaningful. If you constantly allow others to interrupt your time, if you constantly agree to obligations that do not serve your goals, you are giving away your energy.
Let's see how this
Discipline
candle reacts.
requires the strength to say no firmly and without guilt. That no protects your energy for the tasks that build your future. You must also learn to recognize false productivity. False productivity is doing things that feel like work, but create no real impact. Organizing endlessly, checking emails every few minutes, over-researching instead of acting. These give the illusion of progress, but waste your
Order
limited
filled.
energy. The disciplined person asks constantly, is this moving me forward? If the answer is no, they redirect immediately. That habit alone separates the truly productive from the
Alright.
perpetually busy. Directing energy is not just about work. It applies to every area of life. If you pour energy into arguments, negativity, or trying to please
It's my
everyone,
entry.
you weaken your
51,
capacity to grow. If you invest energy
49.
in learning, health, meaningful relationships, and building skills, you strengthen your life. The discipline is in choosing where your attention goes and being
I'm
ruthless
gonna aim
about
for this
cutting out
hourly
what
fair value
drains
gap
you
down here.
without return. Another critical piece is managing your peak energy. Every person has hours in the day when they are sharpest. For some, it is the morning. For others, later in the day. The disciplined person identifies those hours and reserves them for the most important work. They do not waste their sharpest energy on trivial tasks. They guard that time fiercely. This single decision can transform your productivity, because directing your best energy to your best work
Any other time of the year,
It is also
this trade
vital
should
to
hit.
track where your energy goes. Most people have no idea how much time they lose to
Let's
distracting
see what
hours
September does
disappear
for
in
us, man.
entertainment, gossip, or mindless scrolling. And they wonder why nothing changes. When you track your habits honestly, you see clearly the leaks in your discipline.
We're down
Awareness
175
creates
for the
the
day.
opportunity to
172, sorry.
rebound each time you catch yourself
Take this
drifting.
L.
You can remind yourself, this
I'm
is
down
not where
about
my energy belongs. Then you
497.
bring it back to the
That'll be my
tasks
last
that
trade for the
matter.
day too. So
Directing energy requires
yeah.
courage because it often means disappointing others. People will always want your attention for things that benefit them, not you. They will not care if it drains your focus. If you do not stand firm, you will constantly give away your energy. Discipline is not about being selfish. It is about being intentional. If you cannot protect your energy, you cannot build the life you want. And when you waste your energy, nobody else pays the price. You do. There is also a deeper reason why directing your energy is essential. Life is short, and every day you spend on meaningless tasks is a day you never get back. The regret of wasted energy is painful. Many people realize too late that they spent years working on things that did not matter, only to find themselves with nothing of value to show. Discipline saves you from that regret. It ensures that your time, effort, and focus are invested in building something lasting. To apply this principle, create a list of your highest priorities, no more than 5. Then compare everything you do against that list. If an action serves one of those priorities,
Why would you go up the last second? Like,
it must be
you'll be
minimized
looking
or
for this thing not to
eliminated.
close
This is
above,
how you
and
can
30
make
seconds
choice and
to
live with direction.
the 5 minute close.
Disciplined
Look at the
life
push
is
that it
not
just
about
gives
doing
above it. Like,
everything. It is about doing the right things with consistency. Over time, directing your energy becomes a habit. At
if we
first,
have two
you must
sweeps
remind
below and
yourself
above, like that's
constantly.
already a
You
bad day.
must
So
pause before saying
even if
yes.
we run
You
this
must
high
resist the
and I wasn't
temptation
in
to
this
do
trade,
what
I wouldn't
feels
be looking for
urgent
any trades
but
because
unimportant.
that's
But
already
eventually it becomes natural. You
a low
instinctively
probability day.
focus on what matters and ignore what doesn't. That habit creates momentum, and with momentum, your progress multiplies. You begin to see results faster, not because you are working harder, but because you are working smarter. The people who achieve the most are not the ones who work the longest hours. They are the ones who direct their energy with precision. They know their priorities and give their best to them. They ignore distractions. They protect their focus. They invest in what creates growth. That is the secret. Not endless effort, but disciplined effort, directed toward meaningful tasks. From this moment on, challenge yourself to notice where your energy goes. Ask yourself often, is this building the life I want? Is this moving me toward my goals? Or is it draining me? Then make the disciplined choice.
If
Direct
they
your
stop me
energy
out
only
and go in
toward
my
the
direction,
tasks that
I'm just
truly
gonna
matter.
note down
Cut
the
out what
news
is meaningless. Protect your
because
focus.
there's certain news that
Watch
you
how
can
your
trade
life
before
begins to
that just go in your
transform
direction.
when every ounce of energy fuels progress instead of being wasted on distraction. Chapter 10. Condition your mind to act without waiting for motivation.
When it
Motivation
comes to
is a
consumer
feeling,
expectations,
and
the industry
feelings
falls into
are
areas how consumers
unreliable.
perceive
They
future.
come and go without
Da
warning.
da 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 da.
One day you feel unstoppable, the next day you can hardly get yourself to move. If you build your life on waiting for motivation, you will never be consistent. You will only act when conditions feel good, and you will fall back the moment they don't. Discipline requires something stronger than motivation. It requires conditioning your mind to act regardless of how you feel.
Should I even allow this shit
Consistency
stop
is what
me out fully?
separates people who dream from people who achieve.
Bro,
The
chill,
truth
man. Like
is that
what?
action does not depend on motivation. Action creates its own energy. Many people get this backwards.
I'm
They
telling you, is
wait
over
for
here
the
doing
right
what I
emotion
wanted.
to
Look at
appear
this too.
before they
Like,
begin. They think they
bro,
need inspiration before they
these
can
pairs
start
are
the
on
project,
drugs
go to the
right
gym,
now.
or change their habits. But inspiration often only arrives after action has already begun. The very act of moving generates the momentum that feelings cannot. If you only move when you feel motivated, you will waste countless opportunities. If you train yourself to move without it, you will create results every day. Conditioning your mind to act means removing choice from the equation. When When you decide that something must be done, you no longer wait to see if you feel like it. You act because it is required, just as a soldier does not decide whether to train. Just as a pilot does not decide whether to check the aircraft, you build rules for yourself that do not depend on.
If we do take out the previous 30-minute high, we might just trade all the way to the previous day's high as well.
Inspired or bored. You move because you trained your mind to obey the decision, not the feeling. One of the most effective ways to build this conditioning is to create non-negotiable. These are commitments you do every day, no matter what. It could be writing a certain number of words.
Like the first 30 minutes is about to close bullish as well. That's just weird. Like,
the point is that they happen without discussion. By repeating them daily, your brain learns that they are automatic. You no longer sit in the morning debating with yourself. The habit takes over. That is conditioning. This practice begins small. Do not overwhelm yourself by trying to change everything at once. Pick one area where you will remove the need for motivation. Commit to it daily. At first, you will resist. Your mind will scream for comfort, but each time you act anyway, you weaken the hold of laziness and strengthen the habit of discipline. Over time, resistance fades. What once felt forced becomes natural. The more you
they finna
repeat it,
cook us, man.
the more conditioned your mind becomes.
They finna
Another
cook me.
important piece of conditioning is to shorten the gap between decision and
Wow.
action. The longer you wait after deciding to act, the more space you give for excuses to appear. If you decide to exercise, start immediately. If you decide to study, open the book right then. Delay feeds hesitation, and hesitation kills discipline.
I doubt they're gonna use this 30 minutes to give me that push down.
Your mind learns that once you decide, you move. That repeated pattern rewires your behavior until acting instantly is automatic. It is also helpful to reframe how you think about motivation. Instead of waiting for it, treat it as a bonus. When it is present, enjoy it. When it is absent, ignore it. Stop giving it the power to dictate your actions. If you wake up feeling
Please just crash.
inspired,
Please crash.
feeling drained, act anyway. When you live by this principle, you no longer care whether motivation shows up or not. You operate on a higher standard. That standard is discipline. Another strategy for conditioning your mind is to tie action to identity. Stop saying, I need motivation to do this. Instead, say, I am the kind of person who does this. When you connect discipline to who you are rather than how you feel, your actions become consistent. If you identify as a disciplined person, then acting daily without waiting for motivation is simply what you do. Identity-driven discipline is far stronger than feeling-driven discipline.
That makes me want to add to this position, to be honest, but I really can't because of my daily loss limit. That would tag me out before it gets to my stop loss. Let's see how this candle closes though.
This mental resistance is natural. The key is not to eliminate it, but to act despite it. Each time you do, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than resistance. That proof builds confidence, and confidence reinforces discipline. There is also value in embracing discomfort directly. Many people avoid action because they wait for it to feel good, but part of conditioning is teaching yourself that you can act even when the task feels unpleasant. You can write when you don't feel creative. You can train when your body feels heavy. You can study when your mind feels distracted. By doing so, you teach yourself a powerful truth. Your feelings are not in charge. You are. That realization transforms the way you live. Conditioning also benefits from structure. If your days are unstructured, you leave space for indecision. If you have clear routines, your brain shifts into action without waiting for permission. Wake up at the same time. Begin your work at the same time. End end your day with the same ritual. Structures condition your behavior until they no longer feel like choices.
I'm not gonna let
They
price
feel
go
like
against me by a
automatic
lot, to be
parts of
honest.
your life. The fewer
If she
decisions
starts
you
flipping, I'm
leave
just
to
gonna close it.
feelings, the stronger your discipline becomes. Think about the people you admire who have achieved extraordinary results. Do you believe they felt motivated every day? Of course not. They acted because they trained themselves to move without motivation. They understood that the work must be done whether the emotion was there or not. That is why they are consistent. Consistency is not built on inspiration. It is built on conditioning.
ES should keep
The
pushing,
cost
to
of
be
waiting
honest.
for motivation is high. You lose time. You lose progress.
Nasdaq should
You
keep
lose
pushing as
trust
well.
in yourself. Each time you delay,
US 30
you
honestly looks like the
reinforce
only
the
one that
belief
should go
that you
bearish.
cannot act without the right move. That belief grows stronger until you feel
But only
powerless
because
to
it's the one that
change.
ran out
But the
the high
opposite is
first, then the
also
low.
true. Each time
And
you
it
act
wicked both
without
sides too.
motivation, you reinforce the belief that you are in control. That belief grows stronger until action becomes second nature. That is the path to freedom. From today on, stop relying on feelings to guide your life. Train yourself to act based on commitment. Condition your mind by repeating daily actions until they are automatic. Shorten the gap between decision and movement. Create non-negotiable standards. Embrace discomfort as part of the process. Treat motivation as optional, not essential. Build an identity based on discipline, not emotion. These principles will condition your mind into a force that acts regardless of how you feel.
Going up your.
And when you master
I mean, I know
this,
guys use this.
you become unstoppable.
It's
You
just
no
better for.
longer need to wait for inspiration to visit. You no longer wait because motivation didn't show up. You live with certainty, knowing that no matter what, you will act. That certainty is the foundation of discipline, the foundation of progress, and the foundation of a life of strength.
It's the what if I can pull off a miracle.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. What if the biggest threat to your trading success isn't the market at all? What if it's you? Behind every chart pattern and price move, there's a hidden battle taking place inside the minds of traders. Fear, greed, panic, euphoria. In the psychology of trading, Dr. Brett Steenbarger dives deep into the emotional and psychological forces that silently make or break fortunes. This isn't just another trading book. It's a raw exploration of real traders facing real demons, with life-changing insights that can transform how you think, feel, and trade forever. Get ready to uncover the truth most traders ignore, their own mind. Before we dive deep, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for regular content on trading psychology, success habits, and untold stories behind charts. Let's begin with Chapter 1, The Woman Who Could Not Love. She was a successful trader on the outside, disciplined, intelligent, and logical. Her track record was solid, and she followed her trading system with great precision. Yet, something was missing. There was a coldness in her behavior, a distance she maintained from her trades and the people around her. She treated losses and gains the same, showing no signs of being emotionally connected to her performance. Her trading wasn't failing, but it wasn't growing either. There was no evolution in her style, no innovation, no fire. It was as if she had built a wall between herself and the market. In sessions, it became clear she didn't trust emotions. She believed they were distractions, unreliable and dangerous. She worked hard to keep feelings out of her decisions. This mindset had roots far beyond trading. It reached into her personal life, where she struggled with intimacy and connection. She avoided relationships, kept people at a distance, and maintained a sense of control by being emotionally detached. This same mindset had carried into her trading. Her trades followed a rigid process. She relied on numbers, patterns, and checklists. She had trained herself to avoid excitement, fear, or disappointment. But this detachment came at a cost. She wasn't responsive to changing market conditions. She stayed locked in a setups, even when new information suggested otherwise. When asked about how she felt during trades, she often said she felt nothing. This wasn't calmness. It was a form of emotional numbness. As the work continued, her trading history revealed a pattern. She often missed opportunities where a little intuition or risk-taking might have led to significant gains. She exited positions too early, unwilling to hold through uncertainty. She avoided trades that felt too aggressive, even when analysis pointed in favor. Her system was built to keep emotions out, but it also kept growth
You
out.
might have to come
She
back
wasn't
on
making
Monday.
mistakes in a traditional sense. She was limiting her
Unless
potential
somehow
by
this
keeping
candle just
everything
flips.
safe. Exploring deeper,
Which I
it
highly
became
doubt
clear
at
her
this point.
early life had shaped this approach. She had grown up in a household
Because
where
we just
vulnerability
rejected the 5-minute.
was unsafe.
Sorry,
Expressing
the
feelings
30-minute
brought
on
punishment,
midpoint.
not support. Over time, she learned to suppress emotion as a survival tool. This suppression became part of her identity. In her mind, to feel was to lose control. To love was to invite pain. Trading became a perfect arena to express this worldview. Structured, controlled, and emotionally neutral. But markets are dynamic. They breathe, shift, and evolve. The best traders adapt, sense, and feel subtle changes. They use emotion, not as a guide, but as a signal. Fear alerts them to risk. Excitement shows opportunity. The goal isn't to remove emotion, but to understand it. Her trading needed this flexibility. She
September
needed to
does
reconnect,
consolidate sharp,
not
so
just with
I don't know.
emotion, but with the part of herself that had been shut off long ago. To begin this process, her sessions introduced small exercises. Instead of avoiding feelings, she was asked to notice them. She kept a log, not just of trades, but of emotional responses during the day.
You know
What did
what?
she feel when entering a position? What did she feel when holding? What emotions arose when she exited too early? The goal wasn't to fix these emotions, but to acknowledge them. She also began journaling outside of trading. Each morning, she wrote freely about anything that came to mind. No editing, no rules. Over time, these journals revealed patterns, recurring doubts, old fears, and suppressed desires. Slowly, she began to understand how her emotional detachment wasn't strength, it was armor. In time, her trading started to shift. She became more curious. She allowed herself to explore trades outside her rigid setup. She stayed in positions longer, learning to trust a process and tolerate uncertainty. She began reviewing not just what went right or wrong in trades, but what she had felt during them. This added dimension gave her new insight. Emotion wasn't the enemy, it was information. She even allowed herself to take breaks from trading, not out of fear, but out of awareness. She started building relationships, both in her personal life and within trading communities. She sought feedback, shared ideas, and opened up about struggles. This willingness to connect mirrored her growth as a trader. Eventually, her performance improved, not dramatically, but steadily. She didn't just gain more profits, she gained more perspective. She stopped seeing the market as something to control and began experiencing it as something to engage with. Her trading became a reflection of a deeper truth. Chapter 2, The Student Who Wouldn't Study. He came into the office with confidence in his eyes and a good trading record behind him. But as the sessions began, something odd became clear. He wasn't growing. Despite his potential, his development was stuck. He wasn't reading trading journals. He wasn't backtesting new setups. He wasn't reviewing charts before market open or journaling trades after market close. His trades were impulsive. He entered positions without clearly defined rules or preparation. The strategy he once followed with discipline had turned into instinctive action, guided more by feeling than by planning. As questions dug deeper, it became clear that his reluctance to study wasn't laziness. It was something older, more rooted. In school, he always managed to get by on natural ability. He never needed to study for exams. And when he did, the results didn't always improve. Over time, he developed a belief: studying doesn't pay off. It only wastes time. That belief now followed him into trading, even if he didn't see it. His trades were not supported by consistent analysis, and he rarely looked back at what went wrong. Without this feedback loop, he was running blind. To understand and change this pattern, the first step was awareness. He began by keeping a detailed journal, not just of trades, but of thoughts before, during, and after trades. He wrote about the logic for each entry, what indicators he used, what patterns he saw, and why he exited when he did. It was uncomfortable at first. He didn't like confronting his thought process, especially when it was unclear or rushed. But slowly, the act of writing forced him to think. It slowed him down, made him ask himself hard questions. Why did I take that trade? What was my edge? What went wrong? Did I follow my plan? After 2 weeks of journaling, patterns started to emerge. Many trades had no setup. Some were revenge trades. Others were chasing. Entries came from fear of missing out. Exits came from panic. The data didn't lie. He saw the gap between what he believed he was doing and what he was actually doing. That realization gave him control. With control came the ability to change. He began setting specific goals for each week. Not goals like make this much money, but process goals. Review charts for 30 minutes daily. Study one historical setup per night. Summarize each day's market behavior in a sentence. He made it measurable. He turned study into routine. Once the habit formed, he saw progress. His trades became more selective. Entries were backed by analysis. Stops were planned in advance. Losses still happened, but they no longer triggered spirals of emotion. Wins came from structure, not luck. To reinforce the behavior, he added a layer of accountability. He sent weekly performance reviews to a mentor. Each review had a scorecard, rating him on trade planning, risk management, emotional control, and post-trade review. The scores weren't about punishment. They were feedback, a mirror showing him where he was sharp and where he was slipping. Over time, the numbers improved. He felt more in control, not just of trades, but of his process. At one point, the market turned volatile. Others panicked, but he stuck to his plan. He had studied the behavior of the market in past volatility. He knew what setups tended to work. He narrowed his focus and increased position size only when the edge was clear. The preparation gave him confidence. The trades came from clarity, not impulse. As months passed, studying wasn't a task anymore. It was part of the process, like brushing teeth. He reviewed the market every morning. He kept detailed records of each trade. He held himself accountable not just on results, but on execution. His growth didn't come from trading harder. It came from trading smarter. The transformation wasn't dramatic. It didn't happen in a day, but step by step, he shifted from an intuitive trader to a disciplined one. He built a foundation of knowledge that could support his decisions in all kinds of markets. When a trade failed, he knew why. When it worked, he could replicate it. He learned that natural talent wasn't enough. In trading, talent fades without structure. Success depends not on what you feel, but on what you know, what you prepare, and how you respond. And all of that begins with the decision to study. Not for school, not for show, but for the craft itself. Chapter 3. The Woolworth Man. He was known simply as the Woolworth Man, an older trader, calm in his demeanor, and not particularly flashy. His style of trading had a sense of rhythm and consistency. He came from a time before trading platforms became high-speed machines. His background wasn't rooted in computers or coding, but in retail. Years spent behind the counter at a Woolworth store had trained him in observing people, reading moods, and understanding the psychology of behavior. That observational skill, which once helped him understand what customers wanted to buy, now helped him read the market. He didn't use charts filled with indicators. He didn't rely on elaborate models. Instead, he watched price movement with focus, almost like how he once watched customers scan the store shelves. He was drawn to patterns in price action, particularly to what traders now call market structure, how prices react around support.
I'd honestly want Price
His
to
mind naturally
take
longed
out this
for
flow and
repetitive
keep
behavior.
pushing.
He didn't need elaborate systems
That's really what
because
I
his
want.
edge came from observing how others acted when fear
Because
or
if he
greed
takes
pushed them
out
too
the
far.
difference between
His
these two
trades were not frequent.
and doesn't
He
close
waited until a
below,
pattern repeated itself enough times that he could trust it.
so right
He
there,
would then enter his position calmly, always with a fixed stop, always
Price
with a
could
clear
literally
target.
use this to
He
go
sized
from
his
the
trades
trades.
modestly. He didn't
So I
chase
need Price to
profits,
just crush
and he
now.
didn't panic over losses. Over time, his results were steady, never explosive, but always growing. His strength was consistency, not complexity. He mentored a younger trader who approached the market differently. This new trader had a strong academic background. He built models, tested systems, and focused on statistical probabilities. His monitors were filled with data feeds, price projections, and scripts. He believed in algorithms. He often looked at the older traders' methods and dismissed them as outdated. The older man didn't even know how to use half the tools available today. Yet month after month, the Woolworth man would end in profit, while the younger one often broke even or worse. Eventually, curiosity led the younger trader to ask questions. He wanted to understand what made the older man succeed with such simple tools. That's when he learned that trading wasn't only about tools. It was about pattern recognition, discipline, and emotional steadiness. The Woolworth man didn't care what caused the move. He cared how people responded to the move. When prices moved too fast, he looked for exhaustion. When they stalled near key levels, he looked for signs of accumulation or distribution. He didn't trade headlines. He ignored earnings calendars. He had no need for breaking news because he believed that everything important was already reflected in price. He trusted his observations more than
9:30 open
opinions.
again though.
He would sit for
I
hours
hate
and
how
just
I'm here
watch.
first.
No trades, just watching. He believed that preparation didn't always come from doing something. Sometimes it came from learning to do nothing. The younger trader decided to experiment. He turned off the news feed. He simplified his screen layout. He started focusing only on price and volume. He began to log recurring behaviors. How markets open, how they
I'm asking
moved
for
in
is
the
like
first 30
100
minutes,
points.
how they closed near the end of the day. He watched closely how prices reacted around previous highs or lows. He began to understand market behavior the way the older man did. With time, the younger trader started to trade fewer setups, but more confidently. He stopped overtrading. He began to wait. He noticed how the urge to trade constantly faded when he truly started to understand what he was looking for. He realized that price action could tell a complete story without needing a single indicator. Eventually, he blended both styles. He used models for structure and planning, but relied on pattern recognition and observation for execution. The lessons he learned couldn't be found in any book. They were passed from a man who once sold goods
So let's
across
run
a
this low and just
but had
keep down
developed an
here like
intuitive eye for what
T.
markets were truly doing. In the end, what stood out was not the system, not the speed, and not the software. What stood out was the ability to observe without distraction, to wait without frustration, and to act without hesitation. The Woolworth man never bragged, never rushed, never chased. He simply stayed with what worked, repeated it with care, and let the market reward him with time. The younger trader learned that real growth in trading often comes not from doing more, but from doing less with greater focus and deeper understanding. Chapter 4: Traders Out of Their Minds. A young trader sits in front of his screen, filled with confidence. He feels on top of the world. He makes one trade, then another, and both go well. He increases his position size. He tells himself he's found his rhythm. In his mind, he's unstoppable. His profits soar. He believes he's seeing the market in a special way. He ignores small signals of trouble, convinced he can handle any pullback. Then a large position turns against him. He holds it. He adds to it. He tells himself it's only temporary. But the market keeps falling. His losses grow. The screen flashes
Kind
red.
of hasn't
He can't
closed
stop
yet.
watching. He feels trapped. And then, in one final move, the account is wiped out. This wasn't a lack of skill. It was mania, a psychological shift that caused overconfidence, impulsive decisions, and a loss of risk control. When people experience elevated moods, their thoughts become rapid, their judgment impaired. They believe they're more capable than they are. In trading, this leads to excessive risk, ignoring stop losses, and chasing after the market with no limits. The result is often catastrophic. There's also the opposite, a trader who wakes up feeling heavy. He opens the trading screen, but feels no energy to act. Every trade looks like a potential loss. He hesitates, overthinks, and misses opportunities. He tells himself he's just being cautious, but inside he feels hollow. His sleep has been off. He's been skipping meals. Slowly, his self-worth ties itself to each small gain or loss. When trades don't work, he feels like a failure. He stops trading altogether. This is not a case of poor market knowledge. It's depression taking hold. It dulls motivation, slows thinking, and erodes confidence. The mind focuses only on the negative. What could have been an ordinary drawdown becomes a personal crisis. In another case, a trader starts the morning calm. But the moment he sees a losing trade, his heart races. He tightens up. He double-checks every tick. He exits trades early, afraid to lose more. Even winning positions are cut before their time. He's not trading the market anymore. He's trading his own fear. Each session becomes a battle not with price, but with panic. His palms sweat. His breathing changes. He feels frozen when
If
he should
price
act,
closes
and
above this
acts
line,
impulsively when he should
the
pause.
5 minute
This is
low,
anxiety
price
disorder
moving
in
low.
action.
Gonna
The
trade
brain
all the way back
scans for
again.
threats,
We don't want.
and any small loss becomes exaggerated. It's no longer about strategy. It's about survival. There's also obsessive behavior. A trader spends all night backtesting systems, checking forums, comparing indicators. He jumps from one strategy to another. He needs everything to be perfect before taking a trade. If something is out of place, a line on a chart or a number in a report, he can't focus. He delays action, not because of lack of clarity, but because of an internal demand for control. This is obsessive-compulsive thinking. It creates rigid expectations and paralyzes decision-making. The market doesn't provide perfect signals. It moves in probabilities. But this trader can't accept uncertainty. So he waits and waits and rarely acts. Sometimes, trauma plays a role. A trader may have suffered a major financial loss in the past, maybe a blown account or failed investment. That memory sits in the background, always present. He fears repeating the same mistake. Every trade feels like a test of safety. He second-guesses himself. If he loses, he overreacts. If he wins, he can't enjoy it. He may even avoid placing trades altogether. This isn't a lack of technical knowledge. It's post-traumatic stress. The mind links past pain with current risk. It replays scenes from before, even when they don't apply now. And so, the future becomes shaped by the past. In each case, the trader is not irrational. Their thoughts follow patterns. The problem is those patterns are being driven by emotions and mental states that are out of alignment. Just as a person with a fever doesn't think clearly,
Such a day,
a trader
man.
with mental health imbalances struggles to stay focused and objective. Understanding these patterns is the first step to regaining control. It's important to recognize that not all trading struggles are solved with better strategy. Sometimes the problem lies in the mind. Seeking help, building self-awareness, and managing emotional states are not signs of weakness. They are signs of strength. The market rewards clarity, discipline, and adaptability. When the mind is balanced, decisions follow smoothly. When it's not, no amount of technical skill can make up for the chaos within. Trading success is not just about what's on screen. It's also about what's going on in the mind behind it. Chapter 5. Mary, quite contrary. Mary was a trader with sharp instincts and impressive knowledge of the markets. She had a good track record, and her trades were often based on well-researched strategies. But something strange kept happening. Every time she entered a trade and it started to go in her favor, she would pull back. She would either exit too early or move her stop-loss closer, tightening it beyond reason. If the trade moved against her, she would wait too long to get out, hoping it would turn around. Despite knowing the probabilities, despite having the data, Mary kept doing the opposite of what her own logic told her. She micromanaged her trades in ways that contradicted her planning. Her actions weren't aligned with her strategy. The problem wasn't her trading system. She had already tested it, and it worked. She knew the entry and exit signals. She knew her risk-reward ratios. What she struggled with was the ability to follow through. Every time a trade was live, she would monitor it minute by minute, almost tick by tick. She couldn't help but interfere. The slightest pullback would cause her to doubt. Instead of letting the trade breathe and giving it space to develop, she would get in the way. Her issue wasn't simply overtrading. It was an inner tension that made her unable to trust her process. She believed she needed to be in control of every move. She didn't feel comfortable handing over control to the system, even though the system had already proven its worth. The result was that her outcomes were inconsistent. Profitable setups often turned into tiny wins or losses because she cut them short. Trades with poor potential dragged out longer than
Give me one of
necessary
those dump.
because she hesitated to admit they were wrong. Her emotions interfered with her ability to follow her plan. To understand this pattern better, it became important to examine her decision-making style. She approached most situations by anticipating problems in advance. She was the type of person who tried to prepare for everything that could go wrong. That mindset helped her avoid surprises, but also kept her from letting go. She treated trading like a series of small emergencies rather than a flow of probabilities. Her strength and preparation turned into a weakness when she couldn't allow events to unfold without trying to control them in real time. The solution began with awareness. She needed to observe her actions without trying to change them immediately. By tracking her trades, she was able to note how often she interfered with winning trades compared to losing ones. She realized she was much more likely to intervene when she was in a winning trade. That insight was important. It showed that her discomfort with success was stronger than her fear of loss. Her identity as a trader had become tied to avoiding mistakes rather than achieving profits. Next, she began to build routines around attachment. Instead of staring at her screen during every trade, she practiced setting alerts and walking away trades after the market closed rather than during active hours. This helped her evaluate the trades based on logic and strategy, not the feeling she experienced in the moment. It shifted her attention from short-term control to long-term consistency. She also created scripts to rehearse before each trading session. These scripts
You
reminded
could
her
do
of
more
key
than
signals she would
a
trust,
4-hour candle.
her risk limits, and the fact that some trades would win and others would lose, regardless of how closely she watched them. By
I don't want
repeating
the
these
30 minutes
scripts,
to close.
she reinforced the mindset that successful trading is about process, not perfection. The repetition helped make these ideas part of her thinking, especially when she was tempted to interfere. As Mary kept practicing these techniques, she noticed her results improving. Her profitable trades were running longer. She wasn't exiting just because of temporary discomfort. She still had losses, but they were according to plan and not from panic or hesitation. She was finally trading according to her method, not her fear. The more she trusted her process, the more confident she became. She stopped trying to avoid discomfort and instead focused on doing what the plan required. Her journey was not about learning a new trading system. It was about aligning her actions with the one she already had. The turning point came when she understood that managing herself was the real task, not managing every tick of the market. By stepping back, she stepped into her role as a trader in control of her process, not a prisoner of every price movement. Her edge didn't just come from the charts. It came from her ability to stay true to the plan she believed in. Chapter 6, The Evil Spiders. She came into
Let's
the
go
office
Asia
with
extension
fear
3, man.
crawling through her
Or
voice.
4.
Not fear of the market, not fear of losses, but fear of something deeper, more invisible. Something that kept showing up at the worst times, moments before pressing the button to place a trade. She called them the evil spiders. They weren't real, but they were real enough to make her heart pound, her hands shake, and her mind go blank. It had started long ago, back in childhood, with fears planted by a strict father and reinforced by a chaotic household. But now, those fears had grown legs and started crawling into her trading. She could do fine in simulations. When there was no money on the line, her strategies worked. Her setups were sharp. She had the skills, she had the edge, but when the real trade approached, when real money was at stake, the spiders came. Thoughts raced in her head. What if the trade goes wrong? What if I lose everything? What if this time is different? What if I'm exposed? What if I fail? Each time she tried to silence them, they grew louder. The fear of being wrong paralyzed her. She couldn't enter trades with conviction. She would hesitate, miss entries, chase price, and then exit too early or too late. It wasn't about the charts anymore. It was about surviving the
I
mental
want this
noise.
hourly
She was
favor
taught to
to be
stop
online.
fighting the spiders directly. Fighting fear often feeds it. Instead, she
Honestly,
began
you
with
could go
simple
all the way
breathing
down to
exercises, slowing her breath down, feeling it move through her chest, calming the nervous system just enough to
midpoint of
pause
this.
and observe. With every breath, she would say to herself,
That's
"Notice
how
the
low it
fear,
get.
but do not become it." She was instructed to become a watcher of her thoughts, not a prisoner to them. Each morning before the market opened, she wrote in a journal, not about her trades, but about her thoughts. She listed her fears, gave them names, drew them on paper, labeled the loudest ones, gave them shape and size. This gave her control. When she saw them clearly, she could talk back to them. She'd write responses like, "Yes, I may lose, but I have risk controls." Or, "I have survived losses before." Slowly, the spiders became less powerful. In live trading, she was coached to take tiny positions. Not full trades, just practice entries. She didn't need to win. She just needed to act in spite of the fear. She made a rule: act before overthinking. Enter small. Focus on the action, not the outcome. This exposure to the act of trading
There's a tiny
again
fair
and
value
again
gap right here.
helped break the link between fear and paralysis. The mind adjusted. Her
Price
brain no
control.
longer saw the trade as a life or death event.
Bro, I just hate
Visualization
how Friday
became
now
part
becomes
of
the
the
good
market
day.
review.
Like,
Before markets
and it was
opened,
not supposed
she
to
sat
happen.
quietly,
Like,
closed
bro,
her eyes, and imagined the
close right
entire
now.
day play out. She saw herself noticing the fear, letting it pass, placing the trade with calm breath, managing it with discipline, exiting with clarity. The more she visualized, the more familiar those moments became. Her brain began to trust that she could handle discomfort. One afternoon, during a particularly volatile market day, she noticed the fear begin to rise again. The same old thoughts started creeping in, but instead of resisting them, she smiled. She took one breath, then another. She labeled the thought spider and gently let it go. She focused on her process, her entry rules, her stop loss, her targets. She placed the trade, managed it, closed it. It wasn't perfect, but she had done it without panic. And the spiders, this time, didn't win. Her daily structure became tighter. She began every day with breath work, visualization, and journaling. During market
First hour
hours,
just
she kept a
finished.
checklist next to her screen, not just
We
for
need to actually
setups,
dump.
but for her mental state. If fear rose above a certain level, she took a break, stepped away, breathed, and returned with clarity. Her
I don't like all
self-awareness
these gaps
became a
above price.
tool just as important as technical indicators. Over time, the spiders lost their strength. They still visited, but now she saw them for what they were: old shadows from another life, not truths about her trading. Her process matured. Her execution sharpened. Her confidence no longer depended on outcomes, but on her ability to stay calm and follow through. The fear didn't
If
disappear,
price runs
but
this
it
low, I'm
stopped
trade to
controlling
this.
her. She didn't defeat the spiders by force. She outgrew them by turning on the light. Awareness, routine, preparation, and small courageous actions taken one trade at a time. And in doing so, she
It's
reclaimed
already
her
about
power,
100
not
points,
just
so
as a trader, but
I
as
know
a
I want the
thinker who no
challenge, but I
longer
still
let
gotta
fear
follow my
decide her
daily
future.
rules, man.
Chapter 7: The Big Man Beneath the Bed. The story begins with a trader named Martin, a man in his early 30s who had shown great analytical skill and had built a promising career in trading. He had a solid understanding of the markets and had developed a strategy based on strong
Keep going, keep
fundamentals.
going, keep going.
Despite his preparation and knowledge, there was a recurring problem. Every time Martin faced an important trading decision, particularly when large sums were involved, he would freeze. His heart would race, his mind would flood with what ifs, and he would either exit too early or avoid placing the trade altogether. This wasn't due to a lack of knowledge or
We have a
preparation.
BPR
Something
now,
deeper
so
was at play.
I don't want price
Martin
going
described
above
the
50.
experience as being haunted by something he couldn't explain. He said it felt like there was a big man under the bed, waiting to grab him whenever he got too close to risk. It was an old feeling, not new to trading, and it always came back during moments of high pressure. What made this more concerning was that it didn't just affect his trading. It bled into other parts of his life.
Once we
When
run
under
that low, I'm
pressure in his
gonna
personal
right
life,
here.
Martin also avoided decisions, pulled away, or chose an action. To understand what triggered this paralysis, a deeper exploration was needed. When Martin was asked to recall a time
So
in
now
childhood
minimum
that
we
involved
end the
strong
week
fear,
minus
he talked
500
about an experience from when he was 6
to
years
go
old.
for the challenge.
He remembered hiding under his bed while his parents argued loudly in the other room. It had happened often, and each time he felt small, scared, and helpless. Over time, hiding became his way of coping. When the yelling started, he crawled under the bed, curled into a ball, and
That's
waited
one
for it
good
to
trade
end.
next week.
That memory of being trapped and
So
helpless
close to this
stayed
shit.
locked inside him for years, buried but never forgotten. As an adult,
This would have
this
been
childhood
challenge passing if
experience
I didn't
had
pass it
not
right
gone
here.
away. Instead, it had attached itself to new situations like trading,
Just
where
follow
Martin
it.
faced
Today we don't follow
uncertainty
it,
and
it turns
pressure.
enough. So
Though the source was different, the body and mind reacted the same way. The moment uncertainty appeared, Martin's brain went into a defensive state, as if trying to protect him from danger that wasn't real anymore. He wasn't hiding under the bed anymore, but the fear had never left. To work with this, Martin was guided through a process called decatastrophizing. This involved identifying the fear, examining the worst-case scenario, and rating how realistic or likely it really was. For example, when Martin feared losing money on a trade, he had to break down what the actual consequence would be. Would he be ruined? Would he be out of a job? Would he lose everything? When he looked at the facts, he realized that none of these outcomes were likely, especially when he followed his risk management rules. Another step was building a script that Martin could use when fear started to rise. This script included questions that helped him get out of the fear zone and into logical thinking.
Let's get another
Questions
break.
like, what's the setup? What are the odds?
Let's
Where's
get
the
another
stop?
big break.
And what am I risking? By repeating this
Just
during
close
trading
below the
moments, he began training his mind to shift from fear
Asia
to
extension.
focus. Martin also started
So you
using
stop me
imagery.
at one of the
He
two.
visualized himself staying calm during a trading
I'd
session,
like them to
even
close
when the
below
market
this,
was
tap
volatile.
the
Each
1
time
hour
he
pay
did
value
this,
gap, like
he
6
imagined
seconds.
breathing steadily, following his plan, and sticking to the process. He didn't try to remove the fear entirely. He accepted that it was there, but chose not to let it control him. Over time, the image of the big man under the bed lost its power. Another technique used was called exposure. Martin was asked to do practice trading sessions in conditions that mimicked the stress of real trading. The more he placed trades while feeling the fear but not giving into
I'd like them
it,
to
the
leave
more
this gap.
confident he became. He began to trust that fear didn't mean danger. It was just a signal, and he didn't have to obey.
guys
Gradually,
are breakaway
Martin
gap.
changed his relationship with risk. He didn't have to feel safe before acting. He learned
gap
that
here is
waiting
enough.
for perfect comfort often
Follow.
meant missing the opportunity. Instead of aiming for zero fear, he aimed for action with fear present. With repetition, the old associations began to
I like
fade.
that.
What once felt like danger became just another part of the process. In time, Martin was no longer paralyzed when the pressure built. He still felt tension, but it no longer froze him. His trades became more consistent, not because his strategy
that
had
600
changed,
number.
but because he had.
Yeah.
The big man beneath the
big
bed
man.
didn't disappear completely, but Martin stopped
Once we
hiding
tap
from him,
this,
and that made
I'm
all
gonna
the
trail to the
difference.
600 right here.
Chapter 8, Buried Alive. A trader sat in his quiet office, the screens in front of him glowing with red
Now
numbers.
price can trade
The
into
market
this
had
gap.
taken a sharp turn, and with it, his
I want it to
account
just
had
keep
been
rolling
heavily
over.
drained. The
It's around
drawdown
the
wasn't
Asia
small.
extension
It was
right
massive,
now,
and the feeling
just
that
use that
settled
to
in
keep
was
pushing.
not just disappointment. It was total paralysis. He described it as being buried alive, as if the losses had piled on top of him like dirt in a coffin, and no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't claw his way out. This trader wasn't new. He had experience, skills,
I'm
and
just
a
let the
track
5
record of
minutes
success.
there.
But something different happened this time. The losses came quickly, followed by confusion. Every time he thought of placing a trade, his hand froze. Every attempt to re-engage with the market brought back a crushing weight
done a
in
lot
his
of points.
chest. It wasn't just about the money. It was the fear that he had lost his edge, that the market had
You can make
changed,
500 for
or that
sure.
something inside him had broken
Monday.
permanently. The problem wasn't the charts. It was an automatic way his mind was responding to the trauma of loss. Just like someone who survives a car
Since one,
crash may flinch at the sound
Price
of
doesn't
this.
like
This
price
trader's
doesn't want to
brain
go
had
below
connected
this
trading
third
with danger.
Asia
The
extension.
market had become a threat, and the mind had activated a protective response, avoidance, withdrawal, and hyperalertness. To help him regain control, a method was used that involved mental rehearsal and imagery. But before that, he needed to talk. In long conversations, he replayed the moments of loss. He shared how it started, how he ignored his risk limits for just one trade, and how it spiraled when he tried to recover with bigger size. The act of telling his story out loud and in detail served a specific purpose. It brought structure to the chaos. It made the overwhelming event into a sequence of understandable decisions. Then came the use of imagery to rebuild control. He was asked to visualize the same scenario.
It already
that caused
tapped
his
the
fear.
hourly fair value
He had to
gap.
close
Let me
his
retrace
eyes
now. I'm not
and
interested.
mentally walk through the moment when he placed the losing trade, watched it move against him, and felt panic rise. At first, the exercise was too intense. He couldn't go through the whole scene without feeling anxiety. But with repetition and with a calm, slow pace, he was able to face the memory without being overwhelmed by it. The key was not to avoid the fear, but to confront it bit by bit. By mentally rehearsing the feared trading situation in a controlled setting, the emotional
So I'm just gonna
charge
let this
started
run
to
now.
fade. The brain, exposed to the trigger without actual danger, began to learn that the fear was no longer necessary. This is how the response began to change. Alongside this, the trader created a specific action plan for drawdown periods. He built what was called a risk reset routine. This included reducing position size to a minimal level, trading only a very specific setup that had proven high probability in the past, and checking in after each trade. Not just with performance, but with internal responses. The goal was to stay connected to the market without overwhelming his nervous system. In time, this rebuilt trust. He also started journaling again. Not just what happened in the market, but what was happening in his thoughts and body during trading. He noted when his breathing changed, when his hand trembled on the mouse, or when he suddenly felt distracted. The more he tracked his internal state, the more aware he became of his patterns. And awareness became the first step to control. Eventually, trading returned to him. Not all at once, but gradually, with careful exposure, structured risk, and a daily practice of mental preparation. The fear that once buried him began to shrink. He learned to anticipate stressful moments, to ground himself with breathing exercises, and to recognize early signs of panic before they grew too loud. The feeling of being buried alive didn't disappear completely, but no longer had power over him. He had tools. He had a
Only at
plan.
200
And
points
most
for the most
importantly, he had the experience of having climbed out once. And that made all the difference. Chapter 9. Transforming the Mindscape. A trader begins by facing common problems during market hours. Mental noise, self-doubt, hesitation, and the inability to remain fully present.
That's gonna be
Despite
all for
good
today.
strategies and sound market understanding, performance is
100
blocked
points.
by psychological barriers.
Hopefully by
The
Monday we
process of
can pass this
improvement
challenge, man. I'm
begins
over this
not
shit.
with changing the external environment, but by altering internal states of
September,
consciousness.
as I
This is
put
done
down
by
there, I've been doing
accessing
a lot
focused
of
mental states
retracements and
similar to
stuff,
those
so
found in trance or
taking
deep
a lot more
concentration.
patience.
Through experience and
Look at
study,
this drawdown
it
right
becomes
here.
clear that the human brain is capable of entering different modes of awareness.
Look,
In certain
so good.
modes, such as flow
Made it
or
out.
meditation, thoughts become
Make sure
clear,
y'all like, comment,
focused, and
subscribe.
connected to instinct.
Peace.
These states can be